Okay. So now the topic is principles of OOP, means object oriented programming. So you already know about these two approaches of programming. The first one was procedure oriented programming. So in procedure oriented programming, we focus on sequence of steps to solve our problem, just like we do in solving the mathematical problems. First we see the problem, then we figure out what are the steps that we have to take in order to find out the solution. So that approach is known as procedure oriented programming approach. uh, Maybe you have written procedures in science practicals of biology, physics, or chemistry, like that we follow in procedure oriented programming. But in case of object oriented programming, we divide the problem in a number of objects. So in those objects, we categorize different properties of those objects, their behavior of those objects. So we can say that object oriented programming focuses on real world entities. Okay. So whenever we say object oriented programming, so this type of programming approach has some its principles. Means we come across different terms that dictates the whole working of object oriented programming. So we'll see all these terms one by one. So the first term you will get is class, a very common term in object oriented programming. So whenever we create a Java program, there must be at least one class. So a class is actually group of objects that share common properties and behaviors. What does it mean? It means that whenever we consider any object, for example, if I consider a computer as an object, so that object computer must have some properties like the company of the computer or the model number, and what are the internal and external hardwares present in that computer system. So these things you can consider as the properties of the computer. So whatever the properties and behavior that we can decide for any object, those things we mention it inside a class. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Whenever you find any doubt, you can interrupt me and you can ask your question. Okay. So let us take another example. Just if I take an object student, so you can decide a number of properties for the student object, like name of the student, uh, phone number, address, father's name, mother's name, class, means a standard in which he or she is studying. So these are the properties you can dictate for the student object. So all these properties we have to mention inside a class. Okay. And from the class, we derive different objects. Understood, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So now the next term we have is object. So first of all, we define a class in our program, then we derive object from that class. For example, if I give name of some properties like, let's just take an example. Just see, if I'm going to mention some properties like EMP ID, EMP name, EMP salary. Here EMP I'm using a shortcut for the employee. Okay, EMP salary. Next, EMP address. uh, Designation.
Sir, EMT post.
Yeah, that is designation. So if I mention some properties like this inside a class, so the name of the class I am going to take class employee. Okay. So for this employee class, I have mentioned all these properties for an employee. Okay. So inside class, we mention only two things, properties and behavior. So in behavior, we can take one method, that is uh, calculate salary. Okay, so these are the things I have mentioned for a class employee. Now with this employee class, I can derive different objects of this class employee. Like employee can be a manager, employee can be an admin, employee can be a simple clerk, can also be an employee. So these three objects we can derive from this class employee, because manager has also its employee ID. The name of the manager will be there. Employee salary means the salary of the manager also will be there. Address, designation, and there will be a particular method using which the salary of the manager can be calculated. So this thing will be applied for admin of the company also, as well as clerk of this of that company also. So these are the objects that we can derive from the employee class. Understood, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next we have is encapsulation and data hiding. So encapsulation means wrapping up of data members. Means here you can see, if I am going to declare a class, so here I am actually wrapping up of different data items here. Just like you can see EMP ID, EMP name, salary, address, designation, these are the properties, and somehow these properties will contain somewhere data also. Means if I'm going to give the ID of the manager, so I'll have to assign a value for this EMP ID property. The name of the manager I will have to assign with this property EMP name. So all these property will contain some data at somewhere in the program. So all these data are wrapped up inside one class, and that class is actually here employee class. So this is called encapsulation. So encapsulation means wrapping up of data members inside one class or single unit, you can say. Okay. And next is data hiding. So data hiding means here uh, I have declared so many properties of the employee. So here I can make some properties public and some property I can make private. Means if I make some one property public, it means that property can be accessed from anywhere of this program. Okay. But if I declare one property as private, that means that property can be accessed at only some limited places in the program. So in that way, we can hide the data as per our requirement in the program. So data hiding is one of the property of the object-oriented programming, and this property is not available in procedure-oriented programming languages. Means in procedure oriented programming languages, every property or every data present there is actually publicly available in the program. Means from anywhere we can access those data. But in case of object oriented programming, we can make some data private, some data as public. So if that is private, means we can access that data to only some limited place in the program. But in case of public, that can be accessed from anywhere of the program. Understood this thing?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes,
So,
sir.
so we'll see
Yes, sir.
all these things, encapsulation and data hiding using practical approach in the program in our coming chapters. At this point, you have to just understand all these things theoretically, means what are these terms trying to say. Okay, all these things are actually will be implemented in program also. So don't worry about that. Next thing is inheritance. So inheritance is a very common word. Means in the program, if some properties are already available somewhere in the program, then we can easily inherit those properties. For example, mm, uh, if I declare one class named vehicle, okay, so in that class I will mention some of the properties of vehicle class, like uh, company name, model number, color. So many properties I can mention, but this time I am going to mention only these three properties: company name, model number, and color. Means if there is one vehicle, then that vehicle has one of the company name assigned to it, that, and model number will be there for that vehicle, and color will be also there. Now I'm going to create one more class, and the name of the class here is two wheeler. So now I'll mention some of the properties of two wheeler, and last one more class I am going to make, and that is four wheeler. So here I have three classes. One class is vehicle class, the second class is two-wheeler class, and the third class is four-wheeler class. So there will be some distinct properties for two-wheeler as well as four-wheelers. But you can see all these properties from the vehicle class are common in two-wheeler as well as four-wheeler, these two classes. So if I have already declared one class having these three properties in vehicle, so what I can do, that I can inherit these three properties in two-wheeler class as well as in four-wheeler class. Means there is no need to mention all these three properties in two-wheeler class as well as four-wheeler class, because I can easily inherit properties from vehicle class to two-wheeler as well as four-wheelers. Understood or not? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Understood.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Any
sir.
question you have?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir. I have. Sir, can a Java program contains more than one class?
Yes. Java program contains at least one class, and it can contain a number of classes, more than one classes. Okay, so what I am trying to say here that I have already declared these three properties here in the vehicle class. So no, there will be properties. These three properties will also be there for two-wheeler as well as four-wheeler. So there is no need to mention three properties once again in two-wheeler also and four-wheeler also, because I have already created one class having these three properties. So it is better to use these three properties from vehicle class in two-wheeler also as well as in four-wheeler also. So for this, what I have to do, I have to simply inherit these properties from this vehicle class. Okay, so if we are going to use inheritance principle of object-oriented programming, it means we are simply using the code already written for one of the class. Means we are actually reusing the code, no? Here. No need to mention the same code for each and every class if it is already there in one of the class. Understood, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So this is called inheritance. Okay. Next is data abstraction. So data abstraction is actually a representation of only essential features of a particular class without showing the background details. So there are a number of real world examples of data abstraction. So whenever you watch a television, you consider the whole television as single object. But inside that television, more than hundreds of parts are there installed. So we don't worry about the working of all those parts. We simply consider the whole thing as single object, that is television. So not only example of television, you can consider a vehicle also. A vehicle has got more than 100,000 of parts, but we consider the whole thing as one object, that is vehicle. We don't worry whether about what are those parts for and what are their working. Okay, so here in this case, data abstraction means we have to show only the essential feature of any class or object to the user, and rest of the things we can hide from the user. Understood or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes, sir.
Means there will be a program, and in that program a number of classes will be declared there, and in those classes complex programming codings will be there, but user has to only use those features that are given using that program to him or her. Okay, means a user has not to worry about what are the complex coding, what are the logic used there in that program. Okay, so this is called data abstraction. Next is polymorphism. So polymorphism means multiple behavior. Means there will be data, and that data can be processed in a number of ways. That is called polymorphism. For example, if I create one method named area. So method means behavior. So in a class named geometry, I have created one method called area. Okay, so using this same method, I am going to calculate area of rectangle, area of circle, area of this trapezium. So different geometrical shapes area I can calculate using the same method. Means whatever the data supplied to this area method, means if length and breadth value is supplied to this area method, so it will calculate the area of a rectangle. If base and height is supplied to this area method, it will calculate the area of triangle. So like this, whatever the different type of data passed to this area method, so it will behave accordingly. Means there is single method named area, and that is able to calculate area of different geometrical figures. So this is called polymorphism. So you can take another example of yours also. Means if you are there in a school, then you behave like a student. If you are in your home, then you behave like a son or daughter. If you are at, at a shop, you behave like a customer. Means the same person you are, but at different scenario, you behave like different. So this is called polymorphism. So polymorphism is actually a real world property. So this type of property we can create in our Java programs also. Means there will be a same method, and that same method will behave differently at different situation. Understood everyone? This is called polymorphism.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Any
Yes,
question
sir.
you have? Any question you have?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So these are the principles of object-oriented programming. Means whatever the programming language you will use, that programming language based on object-oriented. So these are the principles that will be followed there. So apart from Java, other programming languages are also there that is based upon object-oriented programming. Those languages are C++, Python, C Sharp. So apart from Java, you can use all these programming principles of object oriented in those programming languages. Understood everyone?
Sir, we
Yes,
can't
sir.
hear.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Now you can ask your doubts.
Sir,
Hmm.
so which is easier to in a object-oriented programming, Java or Python?
Both are easier. Whichever you find easy to use, that is easier. So actually there's nothing like easy or complex. Okay. It is just like in math.